Welcome, Coyote fans. This is Paul Ferris. One of my online friends and I were talking recently, rather an acquaintance on Reddit, and we had a debate about the center line of this rear end, and I just measured it, and it's an inch or so this side to the passenger side. So basically, what the debate was that the rear end of the Fox chassis was centered, even if the front of the Fox chassis was offset to the passenger side. It may not be obvious, but you can kind of see it in a couple of ways here. One is this is very obviously longer than this, okay, and the pumpkin is sitting in here in such a way that, you know, it's still it's not centered on the pumpkin, so that the gears are coming in to obviously to the passenger side of the pumpkin. So it's a couple of things. You're still obviously offset to the passenger side. Now his thing was, well, I know that the spline lengths are the same for the splines, and I bet they are. I bet they position the gear assembly in such a way that the spline lengths come out identical. But because a wind up would be a problem. You know, you'd have the thing wanting to wind up different amounts. But I guarantee you the rear end is offset, so that settles that. Not trying to be a smart ass or bust anyone's balls or anything. It's just, it was one of the curiosities whenever I was like, wow, look at that, it goes all the way to the back. And I remembered it that way, but sometimes my memory's flawed, so I decided to look it up. What I'm doing right now is my undercar inspection, which I have a Coyote swap. So one of my things is just to check everything. I have visual marks on a lot of stuff, so I can tell, for example, that my rear differential drive shaft bolts are okay. And what I'm doing is what I do about once every couple weeks. I get up under this thing because it is just such a science experiment. Recently I had my oil changed, and I can see something here, probably from when the oil was changed, but I'm just gonna wipe it up. Yeah, that's probably what that is. Everything looks pretty much the way I left it. It drives great. I do need new rubber, and I'm planning on swapping out these 18-inch rims when I do it for 17s. Anki RPF ones, in case anybody's interested. I just really like their rubber. Their weight, excuse me. Tires, I'm thinking Sumitomo HTRZs 3s up front and back, and HTRZs in the front because they're inexpensive. And I've had a set and they weren't too bad. But as you can see, the underside of my car's remained about the same in the past couple years. I have been driving my swap now for 2 years, and she's just coming along. This whole cheap ass subframe assembly from Ford is about to come out. I've got on order from Griggs his setup, and that's going to include the torque tube, which is essentially a tube that mounts alongside this drive shaft and goes all the way up front, and it allows you to not have any hop. Basically, it gives your car it anchors the angle of this rear differential assembly. Also get lower adjustable control arms, which will greatly help, and then I can set my ride height in the back as well. So, like I said, I have been driving the car a lot, and it's just been a joy. I did have some fun with it recently. And the fact that I had it towed for the first time ever. This was kind of disconcerting. My car wouldn't start, and I was in no spot to debug what was wrong. And for whatever reason, the clutch ground, the wire that grounds to signal to the PCM that the clutch has been locked out so that you're not trying to start the car while it's in gear. That clutch wire was not grounding properly for some reason. And I traced it all the way back to the PCM, and it seemed to have continuity. And then I hooked the PCM back up just on a whim. I started the car right back up, and it's been running fine since. It makes me think maybe maybe the connector wasn't plugged into the PCM exactly right. But anyways, that's been the only drama that I've had recently, and the car's just been running great. Sounds awesome. Hope to get this rear suspension mod in before winter, but who knows. Be nice to have it done this year. But this marks the second year, right around now, that I have been driving my 2000 GT, and it's just a wonderful car. So I can recommend the swap, and I can say, you know, if you have the time to do it, because it's mostly time right now, I'm happy to try and help you. Anyways, I'm also working on a book, as everyone knows. I just, at this point in time, there's been so much stuff consuming my life that I haven't been able to complete some of the chapters, and probably the best thing for me to do would be to do a swap for someone else and document it as I go, and replicate my parts as I go. And if anybody's interested, you know, ping me. You know, I'm not a professional car builder, but I'm extremely meticulous, and I guarantee you that you'll have a car that's pretty much like mine, which is fairly reliable. Anyways, hope you're having a good time. Thanks for tuning in, and subscribe to my channel if you get a moment. There's a button down below. You can subscribe, and you'll get some updates from time to time. So thanks for tuning in. This is Paul Ferris. Cars available online at coyotify.com, coyotify.com. Have a nice day.